I have no idea how it's already the middle of the year, but my reading year has been interesting, to say the least. A few hits, a whole lot of misses, some mediocrity. I'm reading a lot of good books, but not amazing books. But I have read a few amazing ones, so let's get into it. If y'all can hear my fan in the back, I apologize, but it is incredibly hot, so I'm not turning it off. I'm sorry. The best book that I have read so far this year has to be I Feed Her to the Beast and the Beast is Me by Jameson Shea. I had an early copy of this book, so it is not out yet. It comes out on August 29th. Laurence, did I just try to sound French? It didn't work. Laurence Mesny, a black ballerina at the top of her class, but constantly overlooked, is tired of being powerless. So, she bathes in a river of blood and makes a deal with an eldritch god for power. But is the power worth everything she has to sacrifice for it? This was one of my most anticipated releases of 2023, and as excited as I was for it, it far surpassed expectations. The writing was gorgeous, the character work was perfect, the horror of it was perfect. It was just everything. Now, I hope to make a full review of this one closer to when it comes out on August 29th, but just know that I loved it to death, and I need y'all to go read it as soon as it comes out. The best sequel I have read so far. Well, I have read, or tried to read, 3 sequels this year, and every single one of them sucked. So none. I have nothing for this question. One of the sequels that I tried to read was Take a Hike by Mimi Grace. This is the 3rd book in her Love Struck series, and it's an enemies to lovers book. I hate enemies to lovers. So it's really my own fault for picking up a book with a trope that I hate. But I thought that if anybody could make me like that trope, it would be Mimi Grace. So it's not really a problem with the book, it's more of a me problem. But it's kind of a problem with all enemies to lovers books, because how can you be attracted to somebody that's mean to you? I don't get it. If you're an enemies to lovers fan, please comment down below and let me know what y'all like about this trope. Somebody constantly rude to you and now you want to fall in love with them? It don't make no sense. It do not make no sense to me. Help me understand, because I don't get it. And the male main character was indeed very mean. I understood where his frustration with the situation came from, but he did not have to treat her like that. And he was not the only one in the book that was treating her bad. So that makes it even worse when it's like a pile on her. It was just a very frustrating read. I did love the woman main character though. Raven was amazing. She was so likable and she deserved way better. Now don't jump me when I tell y'all this next book. I could not finish Adulthood Rights by Octavia E. Butler. This is the sequel to Dawn. I really loved Dawn, so I was so excited to read the sequel. But this book bored me to death. I was almost halfway through the book and barely anything had happened. Now, I still admire the way that Octavia E. Butler's mind works, because I have no idea how she comes up with the things that she comes up with. And it's pretty amazing how different her work is from anything else you will ever read. But yeah, I just could not force myself to finish the second half of that book when the first 40-something% could have been reduced down to 15% of the book. I know y'all gonna cuss me out in the comments, but I gotta speak my truth. It had to be said. And we will get to the 3rd sequel that I hated a little bit later into the video. A new release that I haven't read yet but want to is You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight by Kaylin Bayron. This is a summer slasher novel about a group of people who act in this full contact terror game that recreates scenes from a classic horror film. But it becomes too real when the actors start disappearing for real. I absolutely love slashers. I have been craving more slashers by black authors. So I can't wait. It's so hot, your girl about to pass out. It is too hot. I hate summer. I hate it. I hate heat. I hate bugs. I hate all of it. My most anticipated release for the rest of the year is All These Sunken Souls, edited by Cersei Moskowitz. This is an anthology of black horror stories. It comes out October 17th. But I have this beautiful arc right here. So I will be reading it way sooner than that. Like basically as soon as I finish this video. It is time to talk about my biggest disappointment so far this year. It hurts me tremendously to say this, but my biggest disappointment was The Blood Gift by N.E. Davenport. This is the sequel to The Blood Trials, which was one of my favorite books of last year and one of my favorite books of all time. And the series is about Akenna, who goes on a quest for revenge after finding out that her father was murdered. She infiltrates the military where he worked with the intent of discovering who killed him. And she winds up competing in these cutthroat trials to become a part of said military while still seeking revenge. And the sequel happens right after the events of the first book, so I was incredibly excited to read it. Now, the first book was incredibly action-packed. Very much about Akenna and these trials. There was lots of death and just overall excitement. Now, tell me why I got 29% into this sequel and all that had happened was smut. I loved the romantic subplot in the first book because it was a subplot. I care about the characters so much, but if I wanted a romance, I would read that. Not this action-packed sci-fi fantasy mix. This was just boring. Where is the action? Please stop cuddling and go kill some people. Why ain't nobody dead? I might try to pick this up again one day to see if the story picks up. But also, I'm scared that if I read any more of the sequel that it will ruin the first book for me. So we're gonna see. My biggest surprise was The Sunbearer Trials by Aiden Thomas. This is a young adult fantasy about 10 teenage demigods competing in a set of trials to choose one competitor who wins and goes on a quest to save the world, and one competitor who loses and must die to save the world. This is my biggest surprise because I DNF'd Cemetery Boys by the same author. I couldn't get through it. I know everybody loved it, but not me. Don't come for me in the comments. But the writing style was just so info dumpy. When all that's happening is a character thinking about what happened or just telling me what happened instead of showing me what happened for a whole quarter of the book, I get so bored. I just can't do it. So since my issue with Cemetery Boys was the writing, I was very scared to try the Sunbearer Trials, but I loved it. I loved the characters so much. There was lots of action and adventure, no info dumping at all. The world building was phenomenal. It was just perfect. It was so good that I'm considering trying Cemetery Boys again, which says a lot because I never go back to books I DNF'd. We gonna see if I actually get to it though. But I'm gonna try one day, I think. Alright, for my favorite new author, I chose Yvette Lisa Ndlovu. Now, this author only has one book out, but the book and the writing in the book were just so amazing that I cannot wait to see what else she's gonna write. And that book is Drinking from Graveyard Wells. It is a short story collection of fantastical stories centering African women, their history, their pain, and their joy. There were stories about mermaids defending their home from those who tried to destroy it, disappearing neighborhoods, gods interfering with the lives of humans, and so much more. The writing was so beautiful. Go pick this up. Now before I continue, comment down below and let me know your favorite author that you discovered this year. Or you can just leave me a red heart emoji so that I know that you made it this far into the video. And don't forget to like and subscribe to join our book tribe. Alright, for my newest fictional crush, I have two answers for this one. First, Mac from Moreau Mafia, No Ordinary Love by Kaylin. This is a story following the three men of the Moreau family, and it's full of secrets, lies, and love. So there were three men that the story followed, but Mac was definitely my favorite. He's definitely in the running for my top book boyfriend of all time. He went so hard for his woman and her child, who he basically treated as his own from the moment he met her. I just love him and the way that he cared for them so much. He was everything. And next we have Mason from Zinni by Rebecca Weatherspoon. Now technically this book could have fit the best sequel prompt, but since I read this one before the first one, and I still haven't read the first one, I don't feel like it counts. Zinni is a romance novel about this woman whose aunt just passed away, and her aunt left her a large sum of money in her will. But in order to get said money, she must get married, specifically to Mason, because her aunt thinks that they would be absolutely perfect for each other. Yes, she playing matchmaker from the grave, and she was right, they are perfect for each other. This book was so adorable. It's one of my favorite romances of all time. Mason was amazing. He could play 17 different instruments, and he does magic tricks. What else could a girl want? Well, I guess that's just if you're a nerd like me. But for real, who can resist a good magic trick? And he and Zinni were such a comfort to each other. They were just beautiful together. Now hold on. These space buns coming off uneven on camera, and I don't like that because they're perfect in real life. I guess you're just gonna have to take my word for it. It's time for my newest favorite character. For the most part, I have been trying to not repeat books for these questions, but we're gonna have to make an exception because Laurence from I Feed Her to the Beast and the Beast is Me is everything. I love a black girl who is not afraid to be cutthroat, who doesn't have to be nice. She gonna get what she want at all costs, and I love and respect it so much. Honorable mentions, Zinni from the book Zinni. I already told y'all how much I love Mason, but I love Zinni too. And Zio from the Sunbear Trials. He must be protected at all costs. A book that made me cry. I don't think any books have made me cry. Zinni did make me tear up a little bit in the beginning at the aunt's funeral. It's like my tear ducts wanted to do a little something. I ain't let them, but they wanted to. I don't know if that count or not, but yeah. But even though no book made me cry, the reading year so far overall has. It took me till late March of this year to get my first 5-star read. And I still have not had as many as I'm used to. I've had way more DNFs than 5 stars. So y'all pray for me and wish me good luck on the second half of the year, because I can't take this no more. I'm mostly talking about the good because I love to keep this channel positive, but there was plenty of bad too. Book that made me happy. Now I could say Zinni again. As y'all can tell, I love that book. But I'm going to say Fake Dates and Mooncakes by Shar Lee. This is a queer, foodie, fake dating romance that's about love, family drama, and culture. And it was so cute. I'm going to love fake dating every time. It's really the best trope. The characters were lovable. Plus, it made me very hungry. I've never tasted a mooncake before, but after this book, I feel like I just have to. And this is also one of my favorite book covers of all time. Do you see the little corgi? The most beautiful book I have bought this year. This one was actually hard to choose because if you've seen my most recent book haul, you will see that I have got a few special edition books. But I think the most beautiful is Skin of the Sea by Natasha Bowen. From the gold sprayed edges, to the glossy cover, to the inside of the dust jacket. It's just everything. What books do I need to read for the end of the year? Basically all the books from my Black Classics TBR for this year, and all the books from my recent book haul. So go watch those if you haven't seen them already to see what is on my TBR for the rest of the year. See you there!